The 2023 MLB season changed the game of baseball forever. For starters, the long-awaited pitch clock was finally introduced, much to the groans of pitchers, but joy for MLB fans as the league saw their attendance skyrocket to the greatest increase since the league expanded to 30 teams back in 1998. Other rules such as the bigger bases and a limit of pickoff moves gave base runners a much easier chance to steal, giving us the first 70-bag season in 2 decades. And finally, the ban of the shift meant no more could a team line up 4 defenders on any given side of the field, and gave lefties in particular a far greater chance to record a hit on balls put in play to the pull side. In fact, this rule benefited every lefty in baseball from Shohei Ohtani to even Joey Gallo, but none more than Corey Seager, the man who had a rather disappointing first season in Texas, but with the shift gone, he was able to remind everyone why he was worth the Texas Rangers record fee of $325 million. This is the season Corey Seager became unstoppable. With the new rules set in place for 2023, Seager's season was already highlighted as a must-watch after being a prime victim of the shift in 2022. During the season, he faced a shift 96.5% of his plate appearances, which ranked 4th highest in baseball among players with at least 250 plate appearances. Just take a look at how defenses were aligned with him at the plate. As you can see, there was practically no opportunity to get a hit by pulling the ball, something he did throughout his entire career with a 30.5% pull rate from 2015 to 2021. Because of this, we saw many outs such as this one.
Save it. Just one of the many hits that Corey Seager has lost to the shift this year.
Just listen to the Rangers broadcasters become exhausted of seeing the defensive alignment once again catch a ball that has been a hit for over a century. And while he wasn't alone, as many lefty hitters were falling victim to the shift, no one was hurt as much as Seager. In fact, in 2022, he made contact on 458 pitches against the shift, 51 more than the second most. And of those balls hit into play, he grounded 99 of them to the pull side, 17 more than the second most. And of those 99 grounders, he recorded just 5 hits for an average of 50. Yeah, not great. And because of these struggles he had with batted balls yielding an extremely low batting average, he had statistically one of the worst seasons of his career. Just take a look at his full seasons he had in LA versus his 2022 campaign. As you can see, his power metrics were higher with 33 home runs beating out his previous career best of 26, but everywhere else it was a major drop-off. In particular, every part of his slash line was the worst of his career by a decent margin. He did, however, manage to put up 3.9 WAR in his first season with the Rangers, but it still felt like he provided a lot more than he had. And thankfully for Rangers fans, on September 9th, 2022, the ban was finally announced and Seager was geared up for his breakout season in Texas. During the spring, yes, I know spring training success doesn't necessarily convert to regular season numbers, but it was the first time we got to witness Seager with a 0% shift rate, and he thrived. Of his 13 ground balls put to the pull side, 5 of them went for hits for a batting average of 385. A small sample size, but he managed the same amount of hits in 86 less at-bats than the year prior. That's a huge difference, and it showed in the first week of the regular season. Just take a look at this single he had off Kyle Gibson. As you can see, it managed to find the outfield grass, which would have been a routine ground ball like this one in 2022. And with more batted balls now finding open space, he was holding a slash line including a 359 average and over 1,000 OPS through his first 11 games of the season. But unfortunately, on April 11th in the 5th inning of his game against the Royals, he aggravated his hamstring on a liner into left field, and as he reached the second base bag, it was obvious something was wrong, and on the next day he found himself on the injured list and was stationed there as he watched the team play 31 games without him. Hamstrings are a tricky issue because they are the muscle that receives the majority of the demand from sprinting, which means it's a common muscle to re-aggravate, especially when trying to turn doubles into triples, which is how he got injured in the first place. But when he came back, he picked up right where he left off from with 4 homers and 19 RBIs in his first 11 games after getting activated. And while he was forced back onto the injured list for another 10 days in July for a thumb injury, he was able to finish out the remainder of the season playing in a total of 119 games, scoring 88 runs, hitting 42 doubles and 33 homers, as well as knocking in 96 as he was able to hit over 300 in over 100 games for the first time since all the way back in 2016. And the success he found during the regular season carried over into the playoffs. Throughout the first few series, he scored 12 runs, hit 3 homers, and drove in 6. He even managed to get a few extra knocks, including this one in the 8th inning of a crucial Game 7 in the ALCS towards the first baseman Jose Abreu, who wasn't able to pick it cleanly. This was a very decisive moment in the game as it kept the rally going for Texas, who later went on to put the game out of reach with 4 more runs in the inning as they took home the AL pennant with a final score of 11-4. But who knows if Seager's ball in play would have been a hit if the shift were still allowed. The whole outcome of the game could have been entirely different. But moving on, the Rangers went on to face the D-backs in the World Series, and Seager did this in Game 1.
And the pitch to Corey, swung on and a high drive, deep right field. This one is way back. This one is history. The game is tied.
With one swing of the bat, he was able to take their Game 1 win probability from a mere 11% up to 58, and following the iconic walk-off homer by Adolis Garcia, the Rangers came back in Game 1 for the series lead, and Seager didn't stop there. His next 2 at-bats also went for homers, and in Game 5, the eventual series clincher for the Rangers, he broke up Zach Allen's no-hitter in the 7th inning and later scored the winning run as relievers Aroldis Chapman and Josh Sborz made easy work of the Snakes' bats. And at the end of the game, Seager was awarded the first ever World Series MVP award in Texas Rangers history, and with this final accolade added to his accomplishments for the 2023 season, Seager finished one of the most impressive seasons by a shortstop in recent memory and was almost one of the best ever. But before we divulge into just how ridiculous his 2023 season was in terms of the record books, we first need to go over how he was able to improve so much from 2022, and that all starts with uncovering his stats on grounded balls hit to the pull side. In total for the 2023 season, he had 83 grounders, yielding 15 hits, good for a batting average of 180. Now, I know you may be thinking, but a 180 average doesn't sound good. But let me tell you, it really is. If we remember back to earlier in this video, we uncovered he had a batting average of 50 from his 99 grounders in 2022. But if we look back even further to his 6 years with the Dodgers when the shift wasn't as prevalent, he had 73 hits and 383 grounders for an average of 188, which means the ban of the shift helped him out tremendously to improve back to his career norm. In this very niche stat by 130 points, but if we look in terms of his overall numbers between his 2 years in Texas, you can see his average went up by 82, on base by 73, slugging by a whopping 168 for a grand total of a 241 point bump on his OPS. Those are incredible improvements, and while this wasn't solely because the shift was banned, as there are many factors that go into a player's season, it was still without question the leading cause to his breakout in Texas, and as stated, it was one for the record books. As we know, Seager was unfortunately not able to play close to 162 games due to injury. Therefore, his power metrics such as his doubles and homers aren't necessarily up there as the best ever for a shortstop. But if we look at how different shortstops fared in their first 119 games of their season, we can see just how dominant he was on a game-to-game basis. For starters, he became just the 3rd shortstop ever to have at least 33 homers in his first 119 games of the season, joining all-time greats such as Ernie Banks, who averaged 7.9 WAR per season during his peak in the late 50s, and 14-time All-Star, 3-time MVP award winner Alex Rodriguez. Not bad company to find yourself with. Moving on, he also became just the 5th shortstop ever to have at least 42 doubles in his 119 games, joining an exclusive list topped by once again Alex Rodriguez, followed by Nomar Garciaparra, Mark Grudzielanek, and Hall of Famer Robin Yount. Once again, Seager was able to keep up with these historic seasons in these stats. But it's not until you add everything into the mix before we can appreciate the sheer dominance he had every time he stepped foot into the batter's box. Of shortstops who had at least 80 runs scored, 90 RBIs, 40 doubles, and 30 homers, as well of an above 300 average and 1000 OPS, he became just the 2nd shortstop to ever do so, joining Alex Rodriguez's historic 1996 campaign with the Seattle Mariners. To me, this just shows how efficient he was for the Rangers offense. He scored an abundance of runs, batting 2nd in front of the heavy hitters in Nathaniel Lowe and Adolis Garcia. He also knocked in 96 thanks in part by having such an incredible leadoff man in Marcus Semien, but also because of his huge power output with 75 extra base hits. He was without question the heart and soul of this Rangers team, and it was proven during his time spent on the injured list. In games he participated in, the team had a record of 67-52, good for a winning percentage of .563, compared to without him, they had a winning percentage of just .535. To be honest, I could go on and on about how incredible this man was in 2023. For instance, he's the first shortstop since Honus Wagner and Arky Vaughan to produce at least a 170 OPS plus, or how he climbed to 2nd on the all-time leaderboard for home runs by a shortstop in the postseason, just behind Derek Jeter. but if I continued listing his accomplishments, this video would be 45 minutes long. So I will leave you with this. Corey Seager's 2023 season was as efficient as practically every single top shortstop seasons in MLB history, and who knows what his slash line would have been or how many extra base hits he would have had if not for his injury early on in the season. It's kind of like how we don't know if Jacob deGrom would have pitched the best ever season in 2021. After all, he was on pace for the highest ERA plus in league history before he was shut down. But for Seager, one thing is for certain. In the year that MLB finally banned the shift, he was able to show everyone his true powers as he helped bring the Rangers to their first ever World Series championship in the season no pitcher seemed to have any answers for him. That wraps it up for this video. Make sure to leave a comment regarding your thoughts on Corey Seager's incredible season, and if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like to help the channel reach more like-minded people, as well as subscribing to stay up to date with all the awesome baseball content I have on the way. Alright, thank you in advance, and I'll see you in the next one.